stop right there. If you have a 1997, 1998, or 2002 Philippine 5 Piso coin, don't just dismiss it as an ordinary old coin, because the story hidden inside these three coins may be far more amazing than you expect. You may not believe it, but these three coins of the same denomination carry an interesting piece of Philippine coin history from different years, something most people simply pass by without ever noticing. 1997, 1998, and 2002. Just 3 dates, but a different story behind each date. Their designs, minting details, condition, and those tiny features that ordinary people never notice can be extremely important to a coin collector. And the most amazing part is that we are not going to give you a fake price or tell you some $1 million story. Some extremely rare coins around the world have genuinely sold for millions of dollars, but the real importance of every coin depends on its rarity, condition, authenticity, and specific details. So, if you have any one of these three coins, don't put it away yet and do not skip this video, because now we are going to take a close look at these 1997, 1998, and 2002 Philippine 5 Piso coins, their history, design, key details, and those amazing things you may have never noticed before. But which one of these three is the most interesting? That is the exact question we are about to reveal. So stay with us until the end, because the amazing story of these three Philippine 5 Piso coins is about to begin. And first, let's talk about this 1997 coin. This is the Philippines 5 Piso, cataloged as KM272, and it belongs to the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or BSP coin series that began in 1995. But here's where things start getting really interesting. The 1997 issue is not simply one ordinary version. There is an important variation involving the mint mark. Some 1997 5 Piso coins have a mint mark, while others do not. And that tiny difference can tell you something important about where the coin was produced. According to numismatic references, coins without a mint mark for 1997 were struck by the Royal Canadian Mint in Canada, while coins carrying the Pi Mint mark were struck at the BSP Security Plant Complex in Quezon City, Philippines. So when you pick up a 1997 5 Piso and look at it closely, one of the first things you should check is, does your coin have a mint mark, or does it have no mint mark? That tiny detail is one of the most interesting things about this date. Now let's look at the coin itself. The obverse features Emilio Aguinaldo, one of the most important figures in Philippine history. His portrait faces to the right, while the denomination 5 Piso and the date 1997 appear within the scalloped border. Around the design is the inscription Republica ng Pilipinas, meaning Republic of the Philippines. Turn the coin over, and you see the reverse design connected with the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. The central bank seal appears inside a circular design, surrounded by the distinctive gear motif. The inscription reads Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, with 1993 shown below, and that 1993 date is important because it refers to the year the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas was established. The BSP itself confirms that the new coin series began in 1995 and included the 5 Piso along with the Ferns Piso and smaller centimo denominations. Now let's talk about the physical specifications. The 1997 5 Piso is a round coin made from nickel brass. It weighs approximately 7.7 grams. Its diameter is about 27 millimeters, and its thickness is approximately 1.87 millimeters. The edge is plain, not reeded. These specifications are important because they give collectors another way to check whether a coin is genuine. If someone shows you a supposed 1997 5 Piso with a dramatically different weight, size, or construction, that is a reason to investigate further. Now comes one of the most important questions. Why was this coin made? The answer is actually much more interesting than simply saying it was made for circulation. The 1995 BSP series represented a new generation of Philippine circulating coins carrying the identity of the newly established central bank. The 5 peso denomination became part of everyday commerce, and the coin featuring Emilio Aguinaldo connected ordinary spending with an important figure in Philippine history. So this was not created as some mysterious million-dollar collectible. It was created as a circulating Philippine coin, and that distinction matters, because sometimes the most interesting coins are not the ones that were originally designed to be rare. Sometimes rarity develops later because of a particular variety, error, condition, or survival rate. And that brings us to the part many people are waiting for: mint errors. If your 1997 5 Piso has something that is genuinely wrong with the manufacturing process, that can potentially make it much more interesting to collectors. Examples of genuine mint errors can include things such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, die chips, doubling, striking problems, or unusual edge errors. But there is an important warning here. Not every strange-looking coin is automatically a mint error. Damage caused after the coin left the mint, such as scratches, dents, cuts, grinding, drilling, flattening, or chemical damage, is generally not considered a valuable mint error. This is where authentication becomes extremely important, and there is one particularly interesting documented example connected to the 1997 5 Piso. A 1997 Philippine 5 Piso with an edge lettering error was certified PCG's F45 and realized $320 in a Stax Bowers and Ponterio auction in June 2025. Now stop for a moment and think about that. A normal 1997 5 Piso is a common circulating coin, but a genuinely unusual and authenticated mint error can move into a completely different collector category. That is why you should never assume that every 1997 coin has the same value. Now let's talk about condition. A heavily circulated example with scratches, wear, discoloration, and damage may have very little collector premium, but an exceptionally preserved example with strong original surfaces, sharp details, and minimal wear can attract more attention. Professional grading can make a major difference when the coin is actually worth submitting. 2 major grading companies you may hear about are NGC and PCGs. NGC stands for Numismatic Guarantee Company, while PCGs stands for Professional Coin Grading Service. A professional grading company examines the coin, determines its authenticity and condition, assigns a grade, and seals it in a protective holder. For example, a documented 1997 Philippine 5 Piso graded NGC MS65 sold for $26 through Great Collections. That tells us something extremely important. A high-grade coin can be worth more than an ordinary circulated example, but that does not automatically turn it into a 4-, 5-, or 6-figure coin. And now we need to address the biggest question surrounding this coin online. Can a normal 1997 Philippine 5 Piso be worth millions of dollars? The honest answer is, there is no reliable evidence that a normal 1997 5 Piso has sold for millions of dollars. You may see videos or online posts claiming figures such as $10 million, $16 million, or even more. But a headline is not proof of a sale. A real coin value should be supported by an actual auction result, a recognized price guide, or credible numismatic documentation. For comparison, ordinary current online offerings for 1997 5 peso coins are often only a few dollars depending on condition and the seller. Documented examples include ordinary coins offered around the low single-digit dollar range, while a certified error can be significantly higher. So if someone tells you that every 1997 Philippine 5 peso is worth millions, be extremely careful. The real story is much more interesting. The coin itself may be common, but a specific variety, exceptional grade, or genuine mint error can completely change the conversation. Now, where can you sell one? If you have an ordinary circulated 1997 5 peso, you can consider platforms such as eBay, local coin collecting groups, Philippine numismatic communities, or dealers specializing in world coins. For a potentially important error or high-grade example, you should consider a professional coin dealer or a major auction platform. For certified material, auction companies that handle world coins can be especially useful because they can put unusual coins in front of serious collectors. And before selling, take clear photographs of both sides, the edge, the date, and especially the area where the mint mark should appear. If you believe you have an error, do not clean the coin. Do not polish it, do not scratch it, and do not try to improve the appearance. Cleaning can permanently damage the coin's surfaces and may reduce its collector appeal. Instead, preserve it exactly as you found it and have it examined by someone knowledgeable in Philippine numismatics. Now here is something many people overlook. If your 1997 coin has no mint mark, don't automatically call it an error. That is extremely important. For the 1997 issue, the no mint mark version is a recognized production variety associated with coins struck by the Royal Canadian Mint. So the absence of a mint mark is not, by itself, proof that the coin was accidentally struck. In fact, that little missing mark is part of the documented history of this issue. And that is exactly what makes coin collecting so fascinating. Sometimes the most valuable information is not a giant number printed in a YouTube thumbnail. Sometimes it is a tiny detail on a coin that tells you where it was made, how it was made, and why it looks the way it does. So, if you have a 1997 Philippine 5 peso, take another look. Check the date. Check the portrait of Emilio Aguinaldo. Check the reverse. Check the edge. Check the weight. And most importantly, check for the presence or absence of the mint mark. Then, ask yourself one final question. Is this simply a normal circulated 1997 5 peso, or does it have something genuinely unusual that deserves professional examination? Because that is where the real mystery begins. And remember, here at World Coin's Vault, we are interested in the real story behind the coin, not fake million-dollar promises. A normal coin should be called a normal coin, a rare variety should be explained as a rare variety, and a genuine mint error should be supported by evidence. That is how you separate real numismatics from internet rumors. So, if you have this 1997 Philippine 5 peso sitting in an old collection, drawer, wallet, or coin jar, don't throw it away. Take a closer look. You might not be holding $1 million coin, but you could be holding a fascinating piece of Philippine monetary history, and possibly a variety or error worth investigating. And now, let's move on to the second coin. Now let's tell you about this 1998 Philippine 5 peso coin. And before we move any further, I want you to remember one thing, because this can completely change the way you look at this coin. The year alone does not tell the whole story. The 1998 5 peso belongs to the Central Bank Coin Series of the Philippines, listed in reference records as KM number 272. and the obverse features Emilio Aguinaldo, while the reverse features the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas design. According to coin reference records, this coin is made of nickel brass, weighs approximately 7.7 grams, measures 27 millimeters in diameter, and has a plain edge. But this is where the story becomes much more interesting, because there is more than one recognized variety for the 1998 date, and one extremely small detail on the coin may help you determine which variety you have. So before you decide that your 1998 5 Piso is simply an ordinary coin, take a close look at the lower area beneath Emilio Aguinaldo's shoulder. Can you see the small initials of the designer? Or are those initials completely missing? This tiny detail matters. Reference records for the 1998 coin list one variety with the designer's initials and one variety without the designer's initials, and collector reference records identify the no initials variety separately, associating it with production at the Royal Canadian Mint in Ottawa. And that is exactly why coin collecting can be so interesting. Two coins can have the same denomination. They can have the same year, they can look almost identical, but a small change in the design can take a coin to millions of dollars. You may have seen that many coins have sold for millions of dollars, and many have sold for thousands of dollars. These happened because of those errors which were created by small changes in the design. Now, let's take a much closer look at the coin itself. On the obverse of the coin, you can see Emilio Aguinaldo, one of the most important figures in Philippine history. He is facing to the right. The coin displays the denomination 5 Piso along with the year 1998, and the design is surrounded by a prominent beaded border. Around the design is the inscription Republic of the Philippines. Now, turn the coin over. On the reverse, you can see the seal of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, surrounded by a circular design and the image of a mechanical wheel. It carries the inscription Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, while the year 1993 appears below the design. This is not the year the coin was produced. And this is another detail that can confuse new coin collectors. The 1998 on the obverse is the year the coin was issued, while the 1993 on the reverse refers to the establishment of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. According to the central bank, its new coin series began in 1995. So already, this small 5 Piso coin is giving us far more information than most people realize. Now, let's talk about why this coin was actually made. The 1998 5 Piso was a circulating coin, not a coin that was originally created as a rare investment coin. It was part of the Philippine monetary system and was made for everyday transactions. And this is important because many people make the mistake of thinking that an old circulating coin must automatically be rare. That is not how coin collecting works. A coin can be old and common. A coin can be old and scarce. A coin can be common in ordinary condition, but extremely difficult to find in exceptional condition. And sometimes a genuine mint error can completely change the level of interest among collectors. That brings us to a very important question. Which varieties of the 1998 Philippine 5 Piso should you look for? The first major difference is the variety with the designer's initials. The second is the variety without the designer's initials. And here is another interesting detail. Some collector reference records identify the 1998 no initials variety as a Royal Canadian Mint production, while the variety with the initials is listed separately. This means you should not look at the date alone. You should also examine the portrait area very carefully. Use good lighting. If necessary, use a magnifying glass. And compare the area beneath the shoulder. Because if you cannot clearly see this small detail, you should not immediately declare your coin rare. Now, let's talk about mint errors. This is the part where the excitement can grow, but it is also where collectors need to be extremely careful. Genuine mint errors can include an off-center strike, incorrectly cut metal, a die crack, a broken die, double design elements, a striking error, or another unusual defect created during the minting process. But there is a very important difference between a mint error and damage. A scratch that happened during circulation is not automatically an error. A dent is not automatically an error. A coin that has been bent, flattened, polished, drilled, chemically altered, or damaged after leaving the mint does not automatically become valuable. And that difference can determine whether you have an interesting collectible coin or simply a damaged coin. So, if your 1998 5 Piso looks unusual, do not celebrate immediately. First, determine when and how that unusual feature was created. Was it made at the mint, or did it happen many years later? That is the real question. Now, let's talk about condition and grading. You will often hear collectors use terms like good, very good, extremely fine, about uncirculated and uncirculated. And when it comes to professional grading, you may hear grades such as 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, and 67. Generally, the higher the grade, the better preserved the coin is considered to be. But the grade is not the only thing that matters. A high-grade common coin is still a common coin. A high-grade scarce variety can be more interesting. And a high-grade genuine mint error can be even more significant. That is why professional certification can matter. Two major names you should know are NGC and PCGs. NGC stands for Numismatic Guarantee Company. PCGs stands for Professional Coin Grading Service. Both companies examine coins for authenticity and grade, and certified coins are sealed in protective holders. For this specific 1998 5 Piso, PCGs lists the coin as a 1998 5 Piso regular strike, and its records include professionally certified examples, with one high-grade example reaching grade 67. This matters because it shows that exceptionally preserved examples really do exist. But now comes the question everyone wants answered: how much is the 1998 Philippine 5 Piso worth? This is where we have to separate the internet from the real coin market. Some online videos and posts use shocking numbers. You may hear claims of thousands of dollars. You may also hear people talking about millions of dollars. And yes, there really are extremely rare coins around the world that have sold for millions of dollars. But that does not mean an ordinary 1998 Philippine 5 Piso is worth millions of dollars. There is no reliable evidence that an ordinary 1998 5 Piso has sold for millions of dollars. In reality, current collector reference records place ordinary examples in a much lower price range. According to Numista's current market data, ordinary 1998 examples appear at approximately 10 cents to $0. 68, depending on the listed grade and variety, while the 1998 Pi variety is listed separately, with available grade data showing a price of approximately 4.60 cents. Another collector reference record gives the market value of the 1998 variety without the designer's initials at approximately 29 cents to 56 cents, depending on condition. So why are we talking about millions? Because in the world of rare coins, million-dollar sales really do exist. But the important lesson is this: a million-dollar coin needs million-dollar evidence. A YouTube thumbnail is not evidence. A social media post is not evidence. A seller asking $10,000 is not proof that the coin is worth $10,000. And simply writing $1 million, $5 million, Or $10 million next to a coin does not automatically make it worth that amount. Real value comes from actual transactions, recognized auction results, professional certification, rarity, condition, and collector demand. That is why we do not want to give you an imaginary price. We want to tell you what actually matters. Now, can an unusual and authenticated error 1998 5 Piso be worth significantly more than an ordinary coin? Absolutely. This is where the story can change. If you find a genuine mint error that is rare, significant, and authenticated by experts, collector interest can increase dramatically. But without evidence, giving every unusual-looking 1998 coin a value of millions or even tens of millions of dollars would not be responsible. And that is something every serious coin collector should understand. Now, here's another interesting detail. The 1998 coin is not only about rarity, it is also about survival. Remember, this was a circulating coin. Millions of coins can enter circulation, pass through thousands of hands, spend years in wallets, store cash registers, drawers, machines, and coin containers, and slowly develop scratches, wear, stains, and surface damage. That means a truly beautiful example, with sharp details and surfaces in good condition, can be much more interesting to collectors than a heavily worn coin. And if your coin has never seen much circulation, do not clean it. This is extremely important. Never try to polish your coin just because you want it to look shinier. A coin that may look dull but still retains its original surfaces can be preferred over a coin that has been aggressively polished. Cleaning can permanently alter the surface of a coin and reduce collector interest. So keep the coin exactly as you found it. Now, let's talk about where you can sell the 1998 Philippine 5 Piso. If you have an ordinary circulated example, you can try local coin dealers, Philippine coin collecting communities, collector groups, online marketplaces, and platforms such as eBay. The 1998 5 Piso has also been offered to collectors through online marketplaces in the Philippines. But if you believe you have a scarce variety, a high-grade example, or a genuine mint error, do not rush to sell it to the first person who makes you an offer. Have it examined first. Take clear photos of the obverse. Take clear photos of the reverse. Take a photo of the edge. Take a photo of the date. And most importantly, take a photo of the area beneath Emilio Aguinaldo's shoulder, where the designer's initials may appear. If you believe you have a genuine error coin, take photos of that area from different angles. Then compare it with reliable collector references. And if the coin appears significant enough, consider professional certification through NGC or PCGs. A certified coin can be much easier to explain to serious buyers, because its authenticity and grade have already been examined by independent experts. Now, before you put your 1998 5 Piso back into the drawer, I want you to ask yourself one question. Do you have the common variety? Or do you have the variety with the designer's initials? Or do you have the variety without those initials? Has your coin been heavily circulated? Is it in extremely fine condition? Is it about uncirculated? Is it potentially an uncirculated example? And does it actually have a genuine mint error? These questions are far more important than simply asking how old is this coin, because age alone does not create rarity, and rarity alone does not guarantee a huge price. Rarity, condition, authenticity, variety, error, and collector demand together can make a coin truly desirable. And that is exactly where the 1998 Philippine 5 Piso becomes so interesting. It looks simple. It is small. Its denomination is only 5 piso. But once you understand the details, you realize there is far more here than simply looking at the number 5. Here is the portrait of Emilio Aguinaldo. Here is the reverse of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. Here is the 1998 date. Here is the 1993 year on the reverse. Here is the nickel-brass composition. Here is the 27mm diameter. Here is the approximately 7.7 gram weight. Here is the plain edge. Here are the recognized design varieties. Here are the high-grade certified examples. And there is always the possibility of a genuine mint error, which requires expert examination. So the next time you see a 1998 Philippine 5 piso, do not look only at the number. Look at what is hidden in the details. Look at the shoulder, look for the initials, look at the surface, look at the edge, look at the strike. Look for anything unusual. And if something truly looks different, do not clean it, do not alter it, and do not immediately assume an enormous value. Have it examined. Because in the world of coin collecting, some coins really have reached millions of dollars. But the 1998 Philippine 5 piso does not become a $1 million coin simply because someone said so online. There must be evidence, there must be rarity, there must be condition, there must be authenticity, and there must be collectors willing to pay for it. That is the difference between a shocking headline and real coin collecting knowledge. So if you have a 1998 Philippine 5 piso, take another close look at it tonight. You may have nothing more than an ordinary circulated coin. You may have a different recognized variety. You may have an unusually well-preserved example. Or, if the evidence supports it, you may have something that deserves professional examination. But there is only one way to find out. Look closely. Because sometimes the most important detail on a coin is the one almost nobody notices. And now, after examining the 1998 Philippine 5 piso, let's move on to the next coin. Now, let's talk about the final coin, the 2002 Philippine 5 piso coin, and this is where things get especially interesting. At first glance, it may look like nothing more than an ordinary 5 piso coin, but when you slow down and examine the details, you begin to see why collectors continue to pay attention to this piece of Philippine history. The 2002 5 piso belongs to the Philippine New Design Series, a circulating coin series that ran from 1995 through 2017. It was issued by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, the central bank of the Philippines, and its design carries the portrait of one of the most important figures in Philippine history, Emilio Aguinaldo. But before we talk about value, let's go back to the beginning. Why was this coin created? What was happening in the Philippines when it entered circulation? And why did the designers choose Emilio Aguinaldo for the 5 peso denomination? The answer takes us back to the history of the Philippine Republic. Emilio Aguinaldo was a major figure in the Philippine struggle for independence and is widely recognized as the first president of the First Philippine Republic. His image on the coin was not simply decoration. It connected everyday money with an important chapter in the nation's history. The coin was designed as a standard circulation coin, meaning ordinary people were expected to use it in everyday transactions. It was not originally created as a precious metal collectible or as a special commemorative issue, and that is one of the most fascinating things about it. A coin that was designed to pass from hand to hand, through stores, markets, transportation, and everyday transactions, can eventually become a historical object in the hands of collectors. The 2002 issue is part of the KM 272 type. It is made from nickel brass, weighs approximately 7.7 grams, measures about 27 millimeters in diameter, and is approximately 1.87 millimeters thick. The edge is plain, and the coin is round. Now look closely at the obverse. You will see the portrait of Emilio Aguinaldo facing to the right. Around the design are the words República ng Pilipinas, along with 5 Piso Emilio Aguinaldo in the year 2002. Turn the coin over, and you will see the seal of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas surrounded by a gear-like design. You will also see Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas and the date 1993. And here's an important detail. The 1993 on the reverse is not the minting year of your coin. It refers to the year the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas was established. The actual minting year appears as 2002 on the coin itself. So, if you see 1993 on the reverse, don't mistakenly assume that you have a 1993 coin. Your date is the 2002 shown on the obverse. Now let's talk about where this coin came from. The 5 Piso type was associated with both the BSP security plant complex in Quezon City, Philippines, and, for certain earlier dates, the Royal Canadian Mint in Winnipeg. Numismatic references specifically note that coins carrying the Philippine mint mark were struck in the Philippines, while some earlier 1995, 1997, and 1998 examples without the mint mark were struck in Canada. That distinction is important when you compare different dates in this series. And this brings us to something collectors love to investigate: varieties. The broader 5 Piso CAM 272 type has multiple reverse varieties. Numista currently catalogs 4 main reverse types across the series, and collectors have also documented unusual pieces and errors in later years. But here is where we need to be careful. Not every 2002 5 Piso is automatically rare. Not every unusual-looking coin is automatically valuable. And not every coin advertised online for a huge price is actually worth that amount. That is why condition, authenticity, variety, and genuine market evidence matter so much. So, what is the 2002 coin actually worth today? According to current Numista data, the 2002 Philippine 5 Piso is generally valued at around 10 cents to 67 cents, depending on condition, with the listed figures covering grades from good through extremely fine. Numista also states that its values are only indications based on user evaluations and online sales, rather than guaranteed buying or selling prices. That means an ordinary circulated example should not be presented as a thousands of dollars coin. The real excitement comes when you find something genuinely unusual. For example, a significant mint error, an authenticated variety, or an exceptionally preserved specimen can attract more attention from collectors than an ordinary circulated example. But there is an important difference between collector interest and a confirmed high sale price. So if someone tells you that every 2002 5 Piso is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, be extremely careful. The normal coin is much more modest. The real treasure hunt is finding the exception. And that is exactly what makes coin collecting so exciting. Now, where was this coin actually used? It was a circulating denomination, so it could be encountered in ordinary commercial life throughout the Philippines. A 5 Peso coin could be used in everyday purchases and transactions, meaning these coins were not originally intended to sit inside collector cases. They were working money. They traveled. They changed hands. They were carried in pockets, placed in cash registers, and exchanged in everyday commerce. And after more than 2 decades, some examples have survived in much better condition than others. That condition can make a major difference to collectors. If you have a 2002 5 Piso, don't clean it. This is extremely important. Do not polish it, scrub it, rub it with chemicals, or try to make it look shiny. Cleaning can permanently damage the original surface and may actually reduce its desirability to serious collectors. Instead, hold the coin by its edges, keep it away from moisture, and store it in a proper non-PVC coin holder or capsule. If the coin looks unusually sharp, has an unusual error, or appears to be in exceptionally high condition, you may want to consider professional authentication or grading. Services such as NGC and PCGs can be useful when a coin has enough potential value to justify the expense. But for a normal circulated 2002 5 Piso, professional grading may cost more than the coin itself. So don't grade every coin just because it is old. Grade the coin when there is a good reason to do so. Now, what about the historical background? Was there a war specifically because of this coin? Was there some major conflict surrounding the 2002 5 Piso? No, there is no known war or major political conflict specifically caused by the 2002 5 Piso coin. However, the person portrayed on the coin, Emilio Aguinaldo, lived through one of the most turbulent periods in Philippine history. His story is connected with the Philippine Revolution, the struggle against Spanish colonial rule, and the later Philippine-American War. So, while the 2002 coin itself was not a wartime coin, the historical figure represented on it carries a much deeper story. That is what gives this little piece of metal its historical character. And now comes the question many collectors are waiting for. What is the highest realistic value? For a normal 2002 example, current reference values remain in the range of well under $1, depending on condition and the source used. Numista currently lists up to about 67 cents among its recorded condition-based values for the 2002 issue. So don't mistake this coin for an ordinary fortune. If you find a genuinely exceptional error, however, the situation can be different. A major, authenticated mint error can command a premium because collectors are no longer simply buying the date and denomination, they are buying a documented mistake from the minting process. But without authentication and strong market evidence, don't assume a strange-looking coin is worth a fortune. If you want to sell your 2002 Philippine 5 Piso, you have several options. You can approach a local coin dealer, a Philippine numismatic dealer, a coin-collecting marketplace, or an online marketplace where collectors actively buy and sell world coins. You can also check completed sales rather than simply looking at asking prices. That distinction is extremely important. Anyone can list a coin for $1,000. That does not mean someone will actually pay $1,000 for it. Real sales are much more useful when determining market value. And if your coin appears to have a genuine mint error or an unusual variety, getting it examined by an experienced numismatist before selling it may help you avoid selling something special for the price of an ordinary coin. So, before you put your 2002 5 Piso into your spending money, stop for a moment. Look at the date, look at the portrait, check the details, check the edge, compare it with reliable references. And most importantly, don't let exaggerated online prices convince you that every old coin is automatically rare. The truth is often much more interesting than the hype. The 2002 Philippine 5 Piso may not normally be a high-dollar rarity, but it represents Philippine history, the development of the country's modern circulating coinage, and the legacy of Emilio Aguinaldo. And that is exactly why collectors continue to preserve coins like this. So now we've taken you through all three coins in this series, the 1999 Philippine 5 Piso, the 1998 Philippine 5 Piso, and finally the 2002 Philippine 5 Piso coin. 3 dates, 1 denomination, and 3 different pieces of the story of Philippine coinage. And remember, the next time you find an old coin sitting in a drawer, a box, or even at the bottom of a collection, don't be too quick to spend it. Turn it over, check the date, study the details, because sometimes the smallest clues are the ones that tell the biggest stories. If you enjoyed this video and found the information useful, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next coin story. And keep checking your coins because you never know what history might be hiding in plain sight.